Hello and welcome back to LendAPI Academy. My name is Kay and this is the first episode of our new series. In this series, we're going to be exploring our new and improved decision engine. LendAPI is a low-code, no-code platform builder, and with that, we have a very powerful canvas-based decision engine. And recently, we've made some updates to our decision engine to create a better user experience and have a more connective look and feel. So in this series, we're going to be navigating through how to create decision trees and logic utilizing our new LendAPI decision engine. And we will also be showcasing and building out a brand new product. So with that, let's get started. For those of you that are familiar with LendAPI, our workflow menu section is the heart and soul of the LendAPI experience. This is where users come to build their products, their decision engines, and any of the accessory features that we have in store. So our Rule Studio is really the heart and soul of that. Our Rule Studio is the decision tree builder that's incorporated for all LendAPI users. So for those that are trying to create underwriting rules or new decision logic or even filtering and origination, this is where you would go to actually create your decision trees. So with our new Decision Engine 2.0, the Rule Studio has gotten a revamp. To add a new rule, all you have to do is come in here, add a new rule, and then start to create your decision engines here. So for this particular series, we're actually going to go into auto lending with our pizza financed lender. So we're going to do a new car loan. And we're going to leverage this with our decision rules and decision studios. So you'll see once you create a new loan or new rule and rule studio, we have now a more canvas-like feature that looks like a more water flow section for logic. Before, our old Rule Studio 1.0 has a horizontal or lateral space for creating new decision trees. Now we're in a vertical flow, which has a more cleaner feel overall. When you navigate here, there's a couple things. The middle section here is really the playground of your decision engine. It showcases all of your new rules, all of the nodes or saplings, and the overall flow of a decision tree. Secondary to that, we have on our right side, we have our properties. This is the core logic, and this is where everything is stored for your Rule Studio. So here you have the properties with your new decision tree name. You have the capability to assign this to a tenant or a product of your choosing after a decision tree has been published. And also you have the capability to add integration partners if you wish to. To get started, you'll notice that in our Rule Studio, we've simplified a lot of the functionalities to actually add nodes, and everything is now done in this canvas feature. So when you're ready to add a new decision node, all you have to do is click on the node that you want to edit, and you'll see a modal pop up, and you'll also see that the right panel here has changed to highlight this specific node. So for us, we're actually going to be creating one simple first iteration, and the first rule we're going to be creating is actually an age check. So You'll see here in the node title, you have your node title. Next to it, you also have your node type. This, for those of you that have used LendAPI's Rule Studio before, this is the core functionality between a rule and an action. Of course, a rule is something that makes a decision based on the variable, and an action is an outcome that has been triggered by the decision. So for this, we're going to be checking the age of a applicant or a borrower. So this type will be a node rule. Underneath, this is the rule block. This is where you go to program the logic for this particular node. So you'll see here, everything is always variable based. So for those of you that are familiar with the LendAPI Decision Engine, you'll notice that the variables selector here has not changed as much. Everything here is still variable based, and you are able to actually generate a specific rule and equatus and create logic here. So this is where this specific chunk of logic here has not changed by much. So once you select the variable that you're utilizing, you'll also see here it's actually coming directly from our Model Studio. So that's where you go to add in new variables, whether it's input fields or it's output fields or it's from third-party data providers. So we're going to say here we're going to generate the first rule, which is greater than or equal to 18 years. And once you've programmed this, you'll see the expression actually written here in English. So age is greater than or equal to 18. And once you're ready, you can always add a note here to explain when and where this is happening. But when you're finished, you can actually create and update this rule. Once you click update, this node automatically saves, and it also changes the properties here. So the expression that you just programmed has been solidified and is showing up as a feature within this particular node. So going forward, once you are done with your first node and you want to expand further, you'll see this plus button right here underneath each block. And underneath the black plus button, you have the yes or no button. So this is to add in the next branch of this tree. What happens to this age check when the user is 18 years old? Well, this would be the route this particular tree takes, and it goes to node number 3, and then here, again, it opens up a modal, and we can make a decision whether this is a rule or outcome. If it's a rule, it will be another rule set within this particular tree. Let's set a second rule to be the credit check. So after the age check, we're going to do a credit check on this particular user. So again, we're going to set this particular field with credit score, which again is a variable. And this one is actually going to be coming from a third-party provider. And the credit score, the bottom credit score we want to set is 650 for our prime loans. So you'll notice within the rules block, you also have the ability to add in multiple different expressions within one node, and you can even group all of this. So once you add a group, you can say these two particular expressions are utilizing an AND logic, and the expression that comes out of this is using an OR logic. So the new rules block really gives you a lot of the new functionalities and features that you're used to if you've utilized LendAPI before. So with that, let's create the second tree. So once I click update, you'll notice my second expression has been solidified here on the right side. And again, I have the capability to add a yes route and a no route. So for now, let's add in a yes route, and let's create this node to be an action. So what happens in this route if a borrower is 18 years old and they have a credit score of over 650? well, then they get a pre-approval functionality. So we're going to set this node title to be pre-qualified, and we're going to set this action to this particular type to be an action, and then underneath it, we're going to set this to be approved. And for those of you that are familiar with the LendAPI decision tree, for every action, there needs to be an outcome or a secondary decision tree tied to it. This means that if this is an outcome that's coming from your decision outcome here, then this is where you would go to select it. Of course, if you are looking to tie this to a child tree, meaning this is the first set of logic and there's another set of logic to run if this set of logic is been passed, this is where you would go to select the child tree. So for this, we're going to end the logic here, and we're going to set this prove term sheet to be our outcome. And we have our first route. Now we have to go back and actually finish the tree. So it can't just have one route. We need to make sure all the logic has a binary outcome to it. So what happens if the user does fail? Then we have a decline node, and this will also be an outcome. And we'll set this as a decline and the outcome to be a decline. And of course, as a reminder, all outcomes are set here in decision outcome. And the biggest change in attributes between approve and decline is a decline does stop the user from proceeding forward with said application or decision logic, whereas approved allows the user to continue. It doesn't necessarily mean they're approved for a loan, it just does not stop the user from continuing to the next step. So with a credit check, we also want to add a leg here with a decline outcome. If they do not meet our minimum credit check, we're going to set this decline to also be an action, and this will be a decline action with an outcome of a decline. We're going to update this. So now that we have set our tree and everything has been set here, you'll notice up here we have our three buttons. We have the save, which is the functionality that's tied to LendAPI. You always want to save all of your work that you've done so far, in the case that you might lose it. And then next to it, you have the test run. This allows you to test the decision tree that you've modeled so far. So in order to make sure you have the most updated decision tree, always save this, you've done, and then run the test. This allows the user to also test as they build to make sure the outcomes are set. So once you click the test, this right panel here changes and allows you to generate a dummy decision engine with dummy data. So we're going to set our age check to be 18 and our credit score to be 700 and run this test, and you'll see it actually highlights a route of this decision tree and the qualification or outcome it lands on. And this is correct. So let's go back and change one of our outcomes, and you'll see here the output here is a decline. The outcome number is 939, which you can tie back to and look up in the decision outcome. And then the highlighted route for this tree. And finally, let's go back again and let's set this as 16. And we're going to run it again. And again, we have our decision tree set here with this outcome and this decline. So with that, we've successfully built our first decision tree in the LendAPI Rule Studio 2.0. Come back next time as we expand upon this decision tree and actually start to build out our new product for our auto lending. And as always, please subscribe and follow us on YouTube for more content. Thank you.